Okay, quick thing before we start the show. Big changes are happening all around us. Are you ready? In my new book, Super Shifts, we uncovered the massive transformations reshaping how we live, work, and think in the age of intelligence. From AI to the future of work, this book is your guide to navigating what's next. Get your copy of Super Shifts today, available wherever books are sold, because the future isn't coming. It's already here. Okay, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Think Forward podcast, where we speak with futurists, innovators, and big thinkers. Come along with your host, Steve Fisher, and explore the future together.
Welcome back to Foundations in Foresight, a Think Forward series. I'm Steve Fisher, and today we're talking about something that might not seem like a futures tool at first, but trust me, it's more powerful than you think. Metaphors. Now, I know what you're thinking. Steve, aren't metaphors just fancy ways of saying things? Sure, but they're also much more than that. The metaphors we use shape how we understand the world, how we think about the future, and whether we realize it or not, how we make decisions. So today, we're going to explore why metaphors matter in futures thinking, how they can either expand or limit our view of what's possible, and how you can start using them intentionally to reframe the way you think about change. So why do metaphors matter in futures thinking? Let's start with this. We don't think in numbers. We don't even really think in words. We think in images. And metaphors are shortcuts, mental models that help us make sense of complex ideas by linking them to things we already understand. Think about the way we talk about time. We say things like, time is money, or I'm running out of time, or saving time. We treat time like a currency, something we spend, save, waste, or invest. But is time actually money? Not really. That's just a metaphor. But because we've all internalized it, we act like it's true. Now, imagine if we used a different metaphor for time. Say, time is a river. That changes everything. Instead of seeing time as something we can hoard or spend, we see it as something that's always flowing, something we can navigate but not control. Suddenly, we might think differently about stress, about productivity, about how we plan. See how powerful that shift is? That's the power of metaphor. It shapes how we think, often without us realizing it. And when it comes to thinking about the future, that influence is even stronger. Now let's talk about the metaphors we use to shape the future we get. The words we use to describe the future influence how we prepare for it. And sometimes, the wrong metaphor can limit our thinking, while the right one can unlock new possibilities. Take the way we talk about technology. A lot of times, people describe technological progress as a race. The AI race, the space race, the race to develop quantum computing. That metaphor makes it seem like progress is a competition with winners and losers. But is that the best way to think about it? What if, instead of a race, we thought about technology as an ecosystem, something that grows, evolves, and interacts with its surroundings? That shifts the way we think about collaboration, regulation, and long-term impact. Instead of thinking only about speed, we start thinking about balance, sustainability, and unintended consequences. Or think about how businesses describe disruption. We hear phrases like the next big wave, which makes change sound like something inevitable, something that will hit whether we're ready or not. But what if, instead, we thought of disruption as a shifting landscape? That would imply we're not just waiting to be hit by a wave, we're explorers, mapping out new terrain, choosing where to go next. The metaphors we use aren't just descriptions, they're instructions. They tell us how to think, how to prepare, how to act. And if we're not careful, the wrong metaphor can lock us into a way of thinking that limits our ability to see what's truly possible. So, how do we start using metaphors intentionally? How do we move beyond the ones we've inherited and start choosing ones that actually serve us? One of the simplest but most powerful techniques is metaphor flipping. Take a metaphor that's commonly used to describe a situation and ask, what if we used a different one? For example, let's say you're working on a strategy for the future of work, and someone describes the challenge as navigating a storm. That metaphor makes it sound like something we just have to survive, like we have no control over what's coming. But what if instead we frame the future of work as gardening? Suddenly, it's not about enduring the storm. It's about planting the right seeds, adapting to the seasons, and creating the conditions for long-term growth. Same reality, completely different mindset. Or imagine you're trying to understand the future of AI and someone calls it an arms race. That makes it sound dangerous. competitive, high stakes. What if instead we thought of AI as a symphony? Different technologies working together, needing harmony, needing conductors? That changes the way we think about its potential, its risks, and our role in shaping it. Whenever you hear someone use a metaphor, whether in business, in strategy, or just in casual conversation, pause for a second. Ask yourself, is this the best way to describe this situation? Or is there another metaphor that might open up a better way of thinking? Metaphors don't just describe reality, they shape it. The stories we tell about the future influence the decisions we make today, and those decisions create the future itself. If we see the future as a battlefield, we'll prepare for war. If we see it as a journey, we'll prepare to explore. If we see it as a game, we'll prepare to play. The metaphor you choose matters. Now here's my challenge for you. Over the next week, listen for metaphors and conversations in the news in your industry. When you hear one, pause. Ask yourself, is this shaping the way we think in a helpful way? Or is it limiting our view of what's possible? And if it's limiting, flip it. Try a new metaphor. See what ideas emerge. So that's it for today's episode of Think Forward's Foundations in Foresight. If you're enjoying the series, go back and check out previous episodes where we lay the groundwork for better futures thinking. And stick around, because next time we're going to talk about the role of empathy in imagining futures. Why putting yourself in someone else's shoes might just be the most important future skill of all. Until then, stay curious and always think forward.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the show. Now, about that thing I mentioned earlier about the book Super Shifts. Imagine having a playbook to navigate what's coming next. That's exactly why I wrote Super Shifts, to help you understand and prepare for the seismic changes shaping our world. Don't just react. Get ahead. Super Shifts is available now, wherever you get your books. And if you order today, you'll get exclusive bonus content. Head to supershiftsbook.com and grab your copy now and start future-proofing your life. The future won't wait. Why should you?